It's kind of wild to think about, right? How something as simple as grabbing a snack could kick off a huge religious showdown. Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We're unpacking a powerful story from Matthew's Gospel that really gets to the heart of what matters more: ancient laws or human compassion. Let's get into it. So picture this. It's the Sabbath, the holy day of rest. Jesus and his disciples, they're just walking through a grain field, they get hungry, and, they do what anyone would do. They start plucking some ears of corn to eat. Seems totally normal, right? Well, turns out this seemingly innocent snack is about to cause a huge problem.
Yeah, see, they weren't alone. There were some people watching. Religious leaders, actually. And in their eyes, this wasn't just lunch. Oh no, this was a crime.
And these guys, the Pharisees, think of them as the super strict guardians of Jewish law and tradition. They don't hesitate for a second. They go right up to Jesus and lay it out, plain and simple. Hey, your disciples are breaking the law. They are working on the Sabbath.
Okay, so this is where you might be thinking, work? Seriously? Plucking some grain? And yeah, to us, it sounds like a massive overreaction. But to really get why the Pharisees were so upset, we've got to look beyond just the big written down commandments and dive into the super detailed oral traditions that shaped their entire world.
See, the issue wasn't that they were breaking one of the 10 Commandments or something you'd find in the book of Exodus. No, the problem was that they were breaking the rules within the fence that had been built around the law. These were thousands of oral traditions, later written down in a collection called the Mishnah, that tried to spell out every single tiny thing you couldn't do.
And this fence was no joke. It had 39 main categories of stuff you couldn't do on the Sabbath. 39! And from the Pharisees' point of view, the disciples had just committed 2 of them. Plucking the grain? That's a form of reaping. Rubbing the husks off in their hands? That counts as threshing. So for them, it was case closed. A total violation.
But Jesus' comeback? It's just brilliant. He completely sidesteps their nitpicky rulebook. He doesn't argue about their definitions. Instead, he flips the whole thing on its head, using the one thing they can't argue with, their own sacred scriptures.
He kicks it off with a little history pop quiz. He literally asks them, hey, haven't you guys read this? And then he brings up this story about King David, one of their greatest heroes ever, who, when he was desperate and hungry, broke a pretty serious sacred rule.
And the comparison is just perfect. David and his men were starving, so they ate the special holy bread that was only supposed to be for the priests. The disciples are hungry, so they pluck some grain. You see what he's doing? He's pulling a precedent right from their own history books, basically saying, look, urgent human need can take priority over ceremonial law. But he's not done yet. He's got another example, and this one is even closer to home for them. He says, or what about the priests in the temple? Haven't you read that they technically work on the Sabbath every single week and nobody says a thing? What a masterful move, right? He's using their own system to show them that it's not so black and white. There are exceptions to the rule. Why are the priests blameless? Because their work serves a higher divine purpose. It's for God, in his temple. He's building this powerful case that the reason you do something matters more than the action itself.
So now that he's laid down this solid legal groundwork, Jesus switches gears. He goes from just defending his guys to making this huge declaration about what God is really like, striking right at the very heart of their beliefs.
And what he says next is just staggering. He basically says, look, if the temple's holy purpose makes the priest's work lawful, then you should know that something greater than the temple is here right now. Can you imagine? He's claiming that his presence, his purpose, is more sacred than the holiest place in their entire religion.
And then comes the knockout blow, a direct quote from the prophet Hosea. He looks at them and says, essentially, if you guys had any clue what God really meant by this, you wouldn't be condemning innocent men. And that quote is all about this. God cares way more about mercy and compassion than he does about perfectly followed rituals. The Pharisees were obsessed with the sacrifice part, getting every single rule right, but they totally ignored the mercy part. By condemning hungry men for eating, they were making the exact same mistake their ancestors were called out for centuries before.
You can feel it all building to this one moment, right? It all leads up to a final, definitive statement. This is a true mic drop moment that does more than just win an argument. It establishes a whole new reality. He says it plainly. For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. That is the ultimate claim. He's not just saying he's a clever interpreter of the law. He is saying he is the lawgiver. He has the authority to declare what the Sabbath is truly for. So, what's the big takeaway from this ancient story? Well, it's a powerful reminder that rules and rituals are meant to serve people, not the other way around. It challenges us to look beyond the letter of the law and focus on what truly matters: compassion, mercy, and the human heart. And it presents Jesus as someone with the authority to redefine our entire understanding of what it means to be truly faithful.
And that leaves us with a pretty deep question to chew on, doesn't it? In our own lives, how do we balance our sacred principles with the real pressing needs of the people right in front of us? It's amazing how a simple debate in a grain field from 2,000 years ago continues to challenge us today.